Welcome back to Simply Invest. In this video, we'll be looking at some good investment opportunities for beginning investors and those of you who are new to financial investments. This video will go over the platforms you can use, what types of investment you can put your money into, and why investing might be right for you. But before we get into the video, this is not financial advice, it is simply entertainment and my personal opinions. You should always do your own research before investing your money and speak with a financial advisor if you deem that necessary for you and your situation. But let's just get into it. So for starters, let's look at what investing is. As explained in a previous video, and that video will be linked down below and in the top right now, but investing is the process of committing a certain amount of money in order to earn a return. So for example, you can invest into a company that is publicly traded on a stock exchange like the New York Stock Exchange, but you're doing so with the hopes of that company succeeding, growing, and giving you a financial return in the future. Investing is like setting some of your money aside while you're busy working and living life and having that money work for you and grow so that you can benefit from it in the future. So one of the easiest assets or things to get started in is stocks. So when I talk about investing into stocks, I'm mostly referring to common stocks of publicly traded companies, right? So these are the stocks and these are the types of stocks that are going to be most readily available to the general public and the average/beginner investor. There are also privately owned stocks, but those are not as available to the public and are obviously privately held by inside investors, which are people who are working within the company, and there are people who are funding that company from the inside, and not public investors. So what kind of stocks should you buy? So there are many types of stocks, but the two that I'll be looking at are blue chip stocks and growth stocks. So the type of stock that you want to buy is obviously going to differ based off of the person that you are. So for example, if you're the person who is a fan of stability and against quickly changing things or volatility, then you may want to look into and consider blue chip stocks. So these are stocks and these are companies that are massive. These are stable companies with a very reputable track record that typically don't see massive changes in their stock prices. And they have a steady earnings record and typically pay dividends to its shareholders. So a dividend is essentially every time the quarter finishes, and again, if you're new to this whole financial thing, every quarter, it's the year split up into 4 different quarters. So every time one quarter of the financial year ends, the company stock that you own will pay you a small portion of money back to the investor to help keep that relationship positive and kind of give back to their investors. And that's called a dividend. And not every company on the stock exchange does that. It's really dependent on the company and how much money they have available to them in order to actually do this without losing too much money. But so if you're interested in stable stocks and stability, definitely consider blue chip stocks. And some examples of stocks that are considered blue chip stocks are Apple, 3M, Amazon, Costco, Alphabet, Bank of America, and there are so many more, but those are some of the larger ones and most reputable blue chip stocks. But if you're okay with volatility and quickly changing stock prices, as I said before, you might want to consider growth stocks. And these are stocks that come with a greater possibility of reward, but will also simultaneously come with a greater risk. So if this is okay with you, definitely consider these growth stocks. And again, these stocks typically tend to have quite volatile and rapidly changing stock prices, with bigger gains in bull markets, which are upwards trending markets. Bull markets means up. And greater drops in bear markets, which are downward trending markets, which, obviously means down since it's the opposite of a bull market. So typically, these growth stocks are not as stable as those blue chip stocks, as we mentioned before. And some examples of stocks that are considered growth stocks and are growing right now, but also can quickly drop in price are Netflix, Square, Tesla, Fiverr, Twitter, and again, there's so many more examples out there of some growth stocks, but these are just some of the more notable and more popular growth stocks that are out there on the stock market right now. But overall, I typically tend to like stocks with long-term potentials and positive long-term outlooks. So if you would like to know more about my personal stock holdings, please feel free to let me know down below. But yeah, I typically like the stocks that I feel as if will grow in the future, and where I think that if I put a small portion of money now, it will definitely grow exponentially or gradually over time in the future. So those are the stocks that I typically like to invest in. So the second great entry that we're looking at in this video for beginning investors is ETFs. So ETFs stands for exchange traded funds, and these are funds that can be traded and invested in like a stock, meaning that it can be bought and sold throughout the day like a regular common stock. And what makes ETFs interesting and different is that they're essentially a group of stocks or assets combined into one. So for example, one ETF that I invested in is called the ARK Innovation Fund. This fund was created by Cathie Woods, who's a very prominent investor, and its goal is to essentially invest into companies that are creating innovative and disruptive technologies. So some examples of the companies that are within that ETF is Tesla, Square, CRISPR, Roku, Zillow, and a bunch of other different companies such as Spotify and Zoom. But essentially, the way it works, and one way that you can think about it, is that an ETF is kind of like a basket full of different stocks. So you can look at the image of a basket with, a bunch of the vegetables, and you can consider each vegetable a specific stock or asset. So that's kind of a neat way of looking at what an ETF is and visualizing what it is in a simplistic way. And an ETF is a great investment for beginners because it essentially takes away the hassle of individually selecting stocks to invest in, and shifts that hassle to someone who's more knowledgeable about the stock market and has the funds to purchase some of these more expensive stocks, because a lot of the stocks that you want to buy are rather expensive, and you typically, if you're a beginner, you don't want to put too much money into the stock market because you don't know, you don't have the experience, so you want to put your money into something that is more simplified for you, and an ETF is a great way of doing that. So if you're interested in investing into either stocks or ETFs, some great beginner platforms that you can use are Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, and Schwab, as well as, there's a ton of other different platforms out there that you can use to start trading. But these all have their own pros and cons, so make sure to know what you're signing up for before you do it, because a lot of them have different fees and transaction rates and different things and tools that vary from platform to platform. Some are more simpler than others, but these are some of the best beginner platforms that I found to be the most welcoming for newer users. And lastly, another great beginning route for investors who are just getting into the financial space is cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrencies are a form of payment that can be exchanged online for goods and services. Many crypto companies have issued their own currencies, and they are often called tokens. And these can be traded specifically for the good or service that said company provides. You can think of them as like an arcade token or a casino chip that can only be used within that ecosystem or within that company. Right. So right now, there are tens of thousands of different types of cryptocurrencies out there, closer to 10,000. But so picking the right cryptocurrency is really, really important, because a lot of them don't really have value. They're just there. But picking the currencies that have a lot of value and can actually grow in the future is really important. So in this video, I'll just go over some of my personal favorites. But if you want to learn more about a specific currency and what my crypto portfolio looks like, just feel free to let me know down below. But some of the most popular and largest cryptocurrencies out there are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Stellar, Ripple, Polkadot, Cardano, etc. And these are just a few. Again, as we said before, there's so many different projects out there, but these are just some of the larger projects that have the largest market cap and have good outlook on the future. But again, if you want to know more about any specific types of crypto, just let me know, and I'll definitely look at them. But personally, I'm a big investor into cryptos. Some of my holdings include Bitcoin, Ethereum, Stellar, Ripple, Polkadot, etc. So yeah, once again, if you want to learn more about the coins that I choose to invest in, just leave a like and let me know down below. So if you are interested in investing into cryptocurrencies, some of the best beginner platforms that I would recommend for you to choose are Coinbase, Kraken, Square, Uphold, etc. Again, there are so many different exchanges and platforms that you can use to purchase and sell cryptocurrencies. but these are just some of the easier ones that I found that would cater most effectively to newer users and people who are just getting in, just getting into cryptocurrencies. So that just about wraps everything up. So hopefully this was a good explanation of some of the easiest avenues that you can take to get started with investing. Again, please feel free to let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and leave them down below, and I'll definitely respond. So thanks for watching.